Welcome back to the GP Productions podcast. Okay, welcome back to the show. And today on the show, I'm joined by a man that was in the WWF between 1984 and 1991. Wrestled a hell of a lot of matches there. Mario Mancini, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. We're making history tonight. First Irish podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Do you get asked to do many of these things?
I did 2 of them last week, and I actually had my own podcast for about 3 years with a buddy of mine's, like a brother, Big Daddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. It was the Mario and Chaos show. I think they're still on YouTube, but there was a lot of antics there and everything. It was just more than like a shoot podcast. It was more like entertainment, but the things that
think you just muted yourself.
I got you there.
Yeah, you just muted yourself, I think.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so what's your podcast based about?
It was a lot of antics because Big Daddy's a big personality. But there were a lot of stories, a lot of true stuff in it. But we had a good time doing it. Did it for about 3 years.
Yeah, and you're no longer doing it?
No, it's like, it's hard because my schedule's so crazy, and I own Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. And I'm busy with the school and the promotion, plus my job during the day. I've been with a law firm for 26 years, and it gets kind of hectic. So I really don't want to commit, myself to a podcast like that anymore. You get there, you set up, you end up going over an hour. Then after, you're shooting a breeze. Before you know it, you're home and 3 hours is gone. You know what I mean? So I have so many things I got to do. I can't. I need a breather. So got kind of rough.
Yeah. Talk to me then about Paradise Pro Wrestling. Where are you based?
Well, we're based out of East Haven, Connecticut, and it's the partners are myself, Paul Roma, Big Steve Tracy, that worked under the name of Dave Paradise in the WWF, and Paul Perez, who was with the WWF probably from 89 to 93. I think he hung around after I got out in 92. So it's 4 former WWE guys, and we run the school and the promotion. We got a show coming up on the 25th, Diesel Mania 5. So we're rolling with that, and I teach on Monday nights because I'm one of the biggest losers in professional wrestling history, right? So we keep it straight at Paradise Alley. So if you come to Paradise Alley to learn how to be a wrestler, who's better to teach how to fall?
Yeah, but how many matches did you wrestle in the WWF? It's hundreds, isn't it?
Yeah. For TV alone, I think it's 168 for TV alone. I can't even count the house matches, but
yeah.
At 55 now, I feel it.
How challenging has the last year been for your business then, with the pandemic and everything?
Well, it was. We were shut down for a few months. We weren't shut down as long as a lot of other people were.
Yeah.
And I got the thermometer their thing, and the students started coming in to get some ring time, and all wrestlers from all over were coming to get some ring time because everybody else was closed. But when we started running shows again, and maybe last September, we just ran them in the school. We can fit about 60 people in there.
Yeah.
And, we just had a mandatory mask, and took everybody's temperature when they came in, and it worked out.
It probably worked out financially better as well to run it in your own place then.
Well, yeah, no venue fee, right? So,
Yeah.
it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Plus, you guys probably didn't know what it's going to be like when shows and events come back. Like, is people's hunger going to be there? What way have you found it coming back into it?
I found that it is there. The only thing that really is terrible is the facility has a cap on how many people can come.
Yeah.
So the last show I ran, I had to turn people back at the door because the venue said you're only allowed 140. So, people were coming in, hey Mario, that come to every show, and I'm like, can't let you in. We're sold out. We're sold out. So.
And when you're sold out, just the last point on this, does it take into account how many wrestlers and staff you have there as well, or are you?
No, thank God, because I cut that deal with them that it can't include staff and wrestlers, or else I'll 90 people there.
Yeah.
So,
how did you become involved in the wrestling business? Because when you went to WWF, you were only just turned 18.
Yeah, 6 weeks after I turned 18.
And did you have much wrestling experience on an independent level before then, or how did that journey to WWF come?
I was very fortunate. When I first got out of the business, and for years I used to tell a tall tale how I got into the WWF, right, to get myself over. Now that I'm 55, I tell the truth. So in 1980, when I was 14, I was watching wrestling, and Vince McMahon was in an empty arena with Bruno Sammartino, and he said, "Bruno, you have something to tell your fans?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm retiring." And Bruno Sammartino was everything to me. I mean, everything. So I looked at my family, and I'm the last of 6, and I said, "I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to take Bruno's spot. I'm going to take his place." It didn't exactly work out like that.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to be a pro wrestler at the age of 14. And, a couple of years later, in 83, I was at the New Haven Coliseum in Connecticut with my parents and a couple of my brothers and sisters. And this referee got into the ring. And my father stood up and said, "Hey, Tony." And he turned around and he said, "Hey, Ralph, Gloria, how you doing?" I said, "You know that guy?" Because we went to grammar school with him. That's Tony Altomar. That's the Stanford Stomper.
Wow.
So I went back to New Haven the following month, and he came walking in, and I said, "Mr. Altomar, Mr. Altomar." He goes, "Yeah, kid." I go, "I want to be a pro wrestler." So, "What's your last name?" I told him my last name. He goes, your mother and father, Ralph and Gloria?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, go stay in school. Get out of here. I said, "No, wait, Mr. Altomar, I want to be a wrestler." He goes, "No." So then I went to the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut, and I saw him there, and he said, You got a problem up here, kid?" I said, "No. Now, I know your parents. This business is not for you. Go to school, go to college, and forget about this." I said, "No, I want to be a wrestler." So then I followed him again, and I did the same thing. And he goes, "I'll tell you what, next New Haven, come here at 3:00. So I went there at 3:00, and Mr. Fuji was there. And I went through the mill. It was like Fuji tortured me. My face was all messed up. I took a layer of skin off my face, and so I got out of the ring, and I was pretty beat up. And Altomar looked at me, and he goes, he talked like Mickey, he didn't look a thing like him, like in Rocky. He goes, "You want to be a wrestler?" I go, "When can I come back?" And he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm opening up a wrestling school in October." He goes, "What are you going to be in October when the school year starts?" I go, "A senior." He goes, "All right, be there the first Saturday in October, and we'll see what happens." So I went there the first Saturday in October, and I went in the ring, and I said, "Okay, how much?" And he said $3,000. Okay. So I go home, and I have a brother that's 13 years older than me and one that's 12. Unfortunately, the one that was 13 years older than me is passed away, but my brother Bob is still here. So my brother Bob says to me when I got home, he goes, how'd it go? I said, oh, it went well. He said, how'd you feel? I said, I felt great. He goes, so you going to do it? I go, yeah, next year. So he goes, why? I said, it's $3,000. I got to work and save the money. So Sunday came and Tony was having another class on Sunday. And he said, come on, we're going down there. My brother made a lot of money. So we went down there. I go, why? He goes, come on, let's follow me. I go, why can't we go in one car? He goes, follow me. I go, okay. So we go to Pasterella's Quest in Orange, Connecticut, and we walk in there. And I stood at the front desk. He walked up to Tony Altomare, gave an envelope with $3,000.
Wow.
And he said, you better not kill my brother. And he walked out and he looked at me. He goes, give it everything you got. And Tony Altomare looked at me and said, get in the ring. And I went to wrestling school from October of 83 to July 31st of 84. The funny part about it is Tony worked for then Titan Sports. And he worked in the office. So January of 84, and I tell this story in every podcast because I don't think I'll ever have that eerie feeling again for the rest of my life. I was messing around on YouTube one time, and I decided to look at the birth of Hulkamania. And all of a sudden, the Sheik gets thrown out of the ring because he tried to attack Hogan after the match, and he throws him out. And all of a sudden, you see me in this 1977 leisure suit with my armor on the Sheik, and I went, I was there. That was 7 months before I broke in, and I had goosebumps. I said, and I have a great memory, man. I was there. So I remember now when I was in class on Sunday morning, Tony looking at me said, you want to take a ride to the Garden tomorrow? So I went with him to the Garden. I was also there for the war to settle the score, holding back Piper. So the true story is myself, AJ Petrucci, Dave Barbie, and Seth Cohen, who worked as Robbie Parliament. We all went to Poughkeepsie on July 31st. And Tony had told us during the entire time of wrestling school that we're friends and we're sparring. But when we turn pro, we really have to apply this stuff. That's what he said. It was 84. Kayfabe's alive and well. That's what he said. Okay. So we go to Poughkeepsie, and he just looks at us and goes, you guys are working tonight. What? You guys are working tonight. Whoa. He goes, go downstairs and see Gino. I said, who's Gino? He said, Gorilla Monsoon. So we go downstairs to see Gorilla Monsoon, and he goes, Mancini? I go, yeah. He goes, sign right here. I go, what's this? He goes, a contract. Sign the contract. I said, well, what's it say? Well, should I have somebody read it? He goes, not this contract. You're going to sign it. So I signed it, and Tony took me over to meet Chief Jay Strongbow, who became my second father for 28 years. Very close to Strongbow, and he wasn't close to a lot of people. We're like father and son. So he brings me up and he says, this is Chief Jay Strongbow. Now, June 20th, I graduated high school. June 21st, I turned 18. This is July 31st.
It's crazy, man.
So he goes, this is Chief Jay Strongbow. So in my head, I'm going, no shit. Yeah, because I'm marking out like crazy, right? I'm like, no shit. So he goes, you listen to everything he says. And I said, what do you want me to do, Mr. Strongbow? He goes, see that chair? I go, yeah. He goes, sit in that chair and shut up. I said, okay. And I sat in the chair and shut up. And he started making out the board. And I looked up and it said, Valentine v. Mancini. And I got up and I said, I poked him on the shoulder. I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Strongbow?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, you spelled my name wrong on the board." He goes, "Do you really think it matters?" I said, "Well, it matters to me." He goes, "What matters to me is that you're not sitting in that chair shutting the F up." So about 25 minutes came around, and Tony was still down there. And Strongbow came up to me and said, and Altamar was behind him, and he said, "Go talk to Valentine." And I stood up and looked at Strongbow. I go, "What do I need to talk to Valentine for? I'm wrestling him." I said, "Is this a non-title match or a title match? Because I'm going to beat him." He said, and he looked over at Tony Altamar. And Tony went, he goes, "Just go talk to Valentine." I said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Strongbow, I don't want to speak a word to him. I'll do my talking in the ring." And Tony came over and put his arm around me, and he goes, "Just go talk to Valentine." I went, "Okay." So I walk up to Valentine. I go, "Greg Valentine?" He goes, "Yeah." I put my hand out. I go, "Mario Mancini, I'm wrestling you, not working with you.
Yeah.
Or we're working together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrestling you."
Okay.
He goes, "You keep your legs loose and you'll be fine. Your legs stiffen up, you're going to hurt yourself. I'm not going to hurt you." When I slapped that figure 4 on you, and I went, and it hit me in a second. I had to accept it. I went, "Oh, it's a setup. It's a setup." I said, "No, come on." Tony did us. He protected the business. So I said, "Do I get a comeback?" He said, "You absolutely do." I said, "Great. What can I do?" He goes, "After you submit to the figure 4, you can get up off the canvas and come back to the dressing room." And I went, "Okay." We went out there and worked. He slapped that figure 4 on me. I kept my legs like noodles. I sold the living daylights out of it. If you can find it, it's a TV taping, Wrestling Challenge or Superstars and the air date is 8/18/84. And my second professional match was in the Westwark Music Theater in Rhode Island. It was a house show. And I was working with Schultz, who is a very close brother of mine. I love David. And he broke my nose in 2 places.
Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. He broke my nose in 2 places. I could take my finger. So if I take my finger now, there's a gap. I can't hit my eyes. So he hit me up here, and my finger was flush with my eyelids. My finger fit right in there, you know? So,
a tough start.
Yeah.
A tough start.
Yeah.
As I said, like you did wrestle a lot of people. Who was your favorite to wrestle in the WWF?
I have a few. The Magnificent Morocco. I loved working with him. I actually did a house show with him. We worked for like 14 minutes. Don Morocco, Ted DiBiase, Kurt Hennig, Chris. I'm so mad that son of a bitch died on me. King Kong Bundy, Chris. Yeah, I loved working with him. It was like Christmas Day if I looked up at the board. I remember before WrestleMania 3, Vince McMahon had come up to me and he goes, "Listen, I got to get this midget thing over." I said, "Okay. What do you want me to do?"
That sounds like the most Vince McMahon sentence ever.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
We called him Caesar because he was the ruler of the empire. That was his nickname.
Yeah.
No one called him Vince. So I said, "What do you want me to do, Caesar?" And he goes, "I need a stretcher." I said, "Okay." And Vince would always do this. "Is that okay?" Because if you said no, you'd never see his face again. So I said, "Absolutely, I'd be more happy to do that." So Chris and I went out there. the TV before the people would watch WrestleMania 3, and he gave me an avalanche and 2 splashes. And the gurney came in for the stretcher, and he took the microphone. He's like, "That's what will happen to any midget that gets in my way," So I actually worked an independent show with him in 1999, and that was the most fun I had. He wanted to put me over. I'm like, no. He goes, "I need to pay you back for New York. This is an independent show. Just move on the Avalanche, cover me." I said, "No, not doing that." He goes, "Mario, why you be so hard-headed?" I said, "Listen, forget about the friendship. Take the characters. Mighty Mouse doesn't go over on Superman, right?" So, I made sure I did the job for him that night, too. So, Bundy, DiBiase, Morocco, Kurt Hennig. I loved working with Brett. There are a lot of guys I loved to work with. I didn't like working with Beefcake. I didn't like working with Adonis. I loved working with Terry Funk, Harley Race. I loved working with Big John Studd before WrestleMania 1. What a great guy John Studd was. He was incredible. It was just an incredible guy. Really soft-spoken, just a gentleman.
Randy Savage, did you get to work with him?
6 times.
Yeah. What was he like?
I did a stretcher for Savage, too. Randy was OCD. So, he's like, "All right, let's go." Yeah, I'm like, "Randy, listen to me. Listen to me. I have so much gratitude because God really gave me a gift. Because even if I was working with somebody bad or I didn't hear them call a spot when they threw me the ropes, I can tell what they were going to do by the position of their feet. So I was able to see it. I wish I could have saw the stitches on a baseball like that, because I'd much rather been a Major League Baseball player, but that didn't work out. But I say, look, just do what you do in there, and I'll be there. Just don't worry about it. All right. I did get fed up in 1990, 91. I did start getting fed up because I was a veteran then, and I had a lot of mutual respect then. And, the first few times Randy would hit me, in the sternum with his rib cage, you know what I mean? And I finally went up to him and I said, "Can you hit me with the tricep? I'd really appreciate that. I've seen you hit other guys with triceps. So when you drop that elbow, you just give me the tricep. You don't have to knock the wind out of me every time." You know what I mean? So, I started speaking up a little bit, you know what I mean? But he's okay. He's snug. He's not stiff. He's snug. So you felt it. Unlike Kamala, where you had to ask him to hit you harder because you couldn't feel a damn thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With those chops, it barely hit you. But I worked with Savage a lot. I worked with DiBiase the most. I worked with DiBiase so many times on TV. He said the people are going to think they're repeats. That's how many times I worked with Ted on TV. Yeah. But yeah, I got I liked working with Funk and Harley. I liked working with those guys because they came from another territory and they go, "Boy, I know what it is in New York, but let me tell you something. If I'm going to beat you, I'm going to beat somebody. I ain't beating nobody. I'm beating somebody. So you're going to do a lot in there." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God." You know what I mean? So
those guys that you've mentioned, like back in that era, they took the business so seriously. Like, it was compared to now with social media and all that bullshit that comes with it, and people following wrestlers' lives and what they're cooking and all that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get frustrated at my own school. I don't even teach the way I used to teach because Tony Altomare had left the wrestling school in '89, and the owners of the gym said, "Look, we're going to get rid of the ring and put more equipment there, or you take over the school." So I actually took over the school, and I used to torture people, torture them. And
in the same way that it happened to you, the same way that you came into the business. Yeah?
Right, exactly. You just pay it forward. When Tony Altomare would teach, you know, it was give him a Beal out of the corner. So you get a Beal out of the corner, and you'd go to get up, and you go give him another Beal out of the other corner, give him another Beal. So you're taking 7, 8 Beals in a row. You know, you're taking 5, 6 slams in a row. Hip tosses was his favorite. You would take 10 or 12 of those
Yeah.
At once. And our classes used to go from 10 in the morning until like 3 in the afternoon. You know, so it was a lot. It was a lot, and I would torture these guys, and you know, I'd have them do crisscrosses, hitting the ropes, and right in the middle of the crisscross, I'd say hit it, and they'd have to take a bump, get up, and go to the right to the nearest rope, keep crisscrossing, and then I'd say hit it, keep crisscross and hit it, and if they stopped, I went ballistic. I go, did you know, keep it more clean here? Everything would come out of my mouth and basically say, did I tell you to stop? I didn't tell you to stop. And when we opened Paradise Alley, you know, we had a couple wrestlers in there, and I started my 80s thing, and Roman came up to me behind me. He goes, you can't do that anymore. I go, why? Mm-hmm. He goes, you can't do that anymore. I go, what do you mean I can't do that anymore? It's how I teach. He goes, go walk out the door. Go walk out the door. You'll chase everybody away. You can't do it anymore. So it's a different style of teaching. They have you know, I have to walk away from some of these guys in a conversation. I'll leave right in the middle of the conversation because these guys are performers. Mm-hmm. And these guys are marketing themselves as performers. I'm a wrestler.
Yeah.
Greg Valentine is a wrestler. Don Morocco was a wrestler. We're wrestlers. Okay. Yeah, it was the entertainment business, but that came second to the wrestling. You know what I mean? So now the entertainment comes before the wrestling. And it's very hard for me to accept that, but I have to. But it's hard.
I think there's a fine line between entertainment and building a good character. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, absolutely. I got one guy that's with MLW right now, Major League Wrestling. That's Richard Holiday. And the kid really worked hard on his gimmick. I mean, with the AirPods, you know, he's got the cup of coffee. He's the most marketable man in wrestling. He breathes rarefied air. And, you know, before the bell rings, he to the referee and you know what I mean? He's done a really good job, and he proved me wrong in today's wrestling because my heart and my head is back then. You know, you have to remember something. When Bret Hart came in, he had no gas. Zero. He had nothing. He had his wrestling ability. Promos, horrible. Stone-faced when he went in the ring. No charisma. Nothing. Mm-hmm. But his wrestling spoke for itself. And then as he went along, he got a lot better at the entertainment end of the business.
Yeah, he was subtle with the sunglasses, the jacket,
right. He
the
really
purple.
He got into it. But, you know, that's why they brought Neidhart in, his brother-in-law in, because he was kind of stale alone. So, you know, plus he cut the big deal with Stu. Vince did. But these guys really, I mean, I gave up. I said, okay, it's today's wrestling. I'm the old guy. You know what I mean? I'm the old guy, you know, from a different era. So you guys do what you think is best for yourselves, but I'm still in charge of what you do in the ring. So, you know, it's certainly a different time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the wrestlers are their own boss, isn't it, these days? And they're just in charge of, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and this is my character. In your school, do you become involved in things like characters these days, or do you just leave it with them or push them in any directions?
I'll answer that question by telling you a story.
Okay.
So we have a kid, and it'll tell you who's in charge of that. We have a kid. His name is Jacob Zimmerman. Now, this kid joined when he was like 15. And for a 15-year-old, the kid was very hairy. extremely.
Okay.
So he ends up growing a beard down to here, and he's got a big mop of hair, right? And Roma is just looking at him and looking at him. And he said, "Come here, Jacob." And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're Zachariah Gibbs. You're going to get black pants, black shoes, a white shirt, collared shirt, and suspenders, and a big black hat. You're from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and you're Amish."
Okay.
You're Amish. He goes, "And I don't know how expensive it's going to be, but I need you to get a butter churn." So he comes in, they announce his name, and he's in the middle of the ring going like this with the butter churn. And when he makes his comeback in the match, he spins around like he's churning butter. And we're watching the match on a show one time. Roma and I are shoulder to shoulder, and I said, "That's Hillbilly Jim." He goes, "Exactly." So, Roma took a Spanish, um, corrections officer, and he took a United States military guy, made him a Russian, and made the other guy, the Spanish guy, an Arab. So he brought back Sheik and Volkov, you know what I mean? But then the guys started whispering in my ear going, "This has been done before." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Leave Roma alone. It's Roma. He was in 3 WrestleManias.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say a damn thing to him, but kiss his feet." And they go, "I understand." I go, "Good." So.
That's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
Working with Vince McMahon, obviously every person I've talked to that's worked with Vince would say he's like the hardest working man in show business. Have you got any funny stories about Vince? Because he's an intriguing character.
I have 2.
Okay.
When his monitors weren't working in the 80s, late 80s, because he leased a production company, and he smashed all the monitors and took a fit and went out and spent over $1 million on his own equipment, his own staff. He hired all his own staff. So he made his own TV production. I remember the fit he took with that. But the best one, I was actually sitting there, Hogan, for this one. So you know what? I want to remember the town that we were in, but I don't know if it was Glens Falls, New York, Syracuse, one of those upstate New York, I think. So I get into the dressing room and I get dressed. Call time 5 o'clock. TV. Because I'm not cutting any promos. All those other guys have to be there at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I lace my boots, which is the first thing you do because it's a pain in the ass. So I lace my boots. I put my trunks on. I put a pair of shorts on and a tank top. I start walking around. And Hogan comes walking by and he goes, "Eminem." I go, "What's up, champ?" He goes, "Did you see the sign on the wall?" I go, "On the door when you walked in?" I go, "No." He goes, "Yeah, 6 o'clock. We got to go. All of us have to go upstairs in the banquet room." I go, "Okay." He goes, "There's a meeting." I go, "All right." So 6 o'clock comes. We all go in the banquet room. Vince comes walking in. Duggan and Sheik just got busted. Right? In the same car. He comes up and he goes, "We've done so many good things. We're on top of the world." And he got all fucked up. He took his blazer off and he slammed it on the floor. "Son of a bitch. I don't want anybody doing drugs in here. Oh, he went nuts. And I still ended up standing next to Hogan, and I'm giving him a side eye, and he's looking at me with a side eye. I'm like, we're fucked. I said, he's pissed. He's pissed. And he was screaming at all of us. And I'm like, oh, man. And I got nervous because that was around the time I started powerlifting, competitive powerlifting, and I was on the juice. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, shit, you can't get mad about that. Everybody's on the everybody in this room's on the sauce. You know what I mean? So
and so was he.
Yeah. So I'm like, you can't get mad about that, right? So I was the debut match for King Kong Bundy. So that was March of 1985. So that was a few months before my 19th birthday. So if you watch that match and then watch my match with Playboy Buddy Rose on YouTube, you'll see a much different Mario Mancini in that match with Rhodes. I mean, my traps were up there. My shoulders separated. I had nice pecs. And you look at the match with me with Bundy in 85, I looked like Baby Huey, you know, like Pillsbury Doughboy, you know. So but he took a fit that night, man. It was everybody was scared, man. But I got him angry. I only got him angry once, and Chief had to come in with the save. So, because I thought I was gone, because his face just turned red and he walked away from me. So, I walked up to him and I said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I have an idea, and I've been working on it in the gym." He goes, "Well, what is it?" I said, "Well, I come out with a tool belt, right? And I come out with the hat, grow my mustache thicker. I go, and I come out as Super Mario Mancini." I go, and the finish is from the top rope, the guy standing, like staggering, like he gets up from a vertical suplex while I'm going to the top rope. I jump off, spread my legs, and give him an ass bump on his chest. And he takes the bump. And like hit my feet, and I do a front roll and cover him. He goes, "I'd have to pay Nintendo." I go, "Well, you pay Marvel Comics." And he went, and he walked away from me. And I went sprinting the strongbow. And I'm going, Chief, I got to talk to you. He goes, "What?" I said, I just talked to Caesar. He goes, "Oh." What was the conversation? I told him, and he went, "Stay away from him." He goes, "Just stay away from him, Mancini." So he walked up to Vince, and Vince had his hands on his waist, and he starts pointing, and Strongbow's going like this, and Vince going like that, and their hands are going, and Chief's going, and he walked away, and Chief came up to me and goes, "Just stay away from him, okay? Just focus on what you're doing tonight, okay?" I go, "Thanks, Chief." He goes, "Yeah, don't do that again." I go, "Okay." But I went up to him another time. I didn't listen. He loved it. I never saw it. He didn't do it. Vince had the biggest smile on his face, and he went, "Mario, I like that." So I went up to him. I said, Hey, Caesar, can I talk to you for a minute?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Can I have a doll?" He goes, "You want a doll?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "My doll's special." He goes, "What's so special about your doll, Mario? That's not like everybody else's doll." I go, "My doll comes with an ambulance, a stretcher, and 2 paramedics." And he went, "Wow, I love that. I love that." I go, "Yes, let's do it." No,
Never done it.
No.
He's a strange character, isn't he?
He's weird. There's a lot of stories I would never tell about Vince that I know.
I've got a story for you about Vince that you might know about. I had a film director on the podcast before, and he made the first feature WWE film, which was called See No Evil, the horror movie with Kane in it. And Vince was involved from the background. Like there was a director, there was all professional people working on this project, and he read through the script, and they were shooting the film in Australia. And Vince didn't go, but he was reading it, and he called was it the director? Yeah, he called the director who was over in Australia and said that, what about at the end of the movie, before Kane gets killed, he pulls out a 3-foot penis.
Say no more.
Mm-hmm.
So that coincides with the stories I can't tell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he's a strange dude. Even when it comes to food, brother, he's a little strange.
Yeah,
Even
they
when it
said
comes to food.
the reason that he didn't push for it was because basically the director said to him, "Well, we're not going to be able to make any money off this movie in the box office if you do that," and then he kind of let it go.
Yeah. He, in 2000, I think it was 2015. I got inducted in the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2014. So I think it was in the Rhode Island Convention Center in 2015, and I'm walking toward the hall where they're going to have the inductions, because Mean Gene was getting inducted, and I had to sit near Mean Gene because he has me in tears the whole time. I mean, I can't even catch my breath. That's how funny.
Yeah.
So I'm walking toward the place, and Jim Cornette's coming down the escalator. So I said, let me meet this guy on the bottom of the escalator. So he reaches the bottom. I go up to him, put my hand out. I go, Jim Cornette? He goes, yeah. He goes, Mario Mancini. I said, yeah, I appreciate that. He goes, no, I know who you are. He goes, let's walk over together. And it was kind of a long walk over to the room where they were having and we were talking about Vince. And he goes, that son of a bitch hates to eat. Doesn't like to eat. It annoys him. I go, what do you mean? He goes, like, I would be over his house with Pritchard. I'm like, yeah. He goes, and we get hungry. We want to, go and get a sandwich or something. He goes, he would get irritated. He goes, you have to see how fast he eats just to get it down. He just eats just to fuel his body. And I looked over at Cornette and I go, well, in the history of my life, in my ethnic background, yeah, I've never eaten that way in my totally eaten for play. Except when I was on the juice. I had to eat for consumption because I couldn't have any salt, sugar, not a lot of carbs. There were complex carbs if I had them. But yeah, he's a strange cat, but you know what? Most geniuses are.
Yeah.
Most geniuses are. He's but I have to tell you, back in 2002 or 2003, my friend Jack was driving a limousine. He picked Vince up. And he goes, oh, Mr. McMahon, we have a mutual friend. He goes, really? Who's that? He goes, Mario Mancini. He goes, so he jumped up from his seat, had a big smile. He goes, how is Mario? So I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? I'm happy with that. So
he remembers you and he appreciates you then, obviously.
oh yeah, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that, and it's all good.
Yeah. The convention world in the wrestling business is huge now. Is that something that you've become involved with?
I got to tell you, I got a call from Joe Bruin in 2013. He's the head of the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and he's like, Mario Mancini? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm Joe Bruin. I do the New England Pro Wrestling Convention and Hall of Fame. I go, okay. He goes, have you ever done an autograph signing or one of these WrestleFests or anything like that? I go, no. And he goes, well, I'd really like you there. I go, no, thanks. He goes, but you never done one before. I'm like, yeah, so I'm not interested. And he goes, why? I said, I have my own reasons. He goes, I really want you there. I'm like, he goes, people have you signed the WWE encyclopedia. I go, for what? He goes, well, you're in it. I go, I'm in it. He goes, yeah. I go, really? He goes, yeah. I go, is there a picture of me? Oh, no, you're just above Mark Henry. The other editions, they put a picture in. You're above Mark Henry. And he read it to me. And he lied to me about what it said. I said, it really says that about me? He says, yeah. He goes, I got a guy from Japan coming in just to see you. I go, guys coming in all the way from Japan just to see me. And why would you tell this guy I'm going to be there without me saying I will? He goes, I just want to know why you don't want to do it. I said, because if I sit there for 7 hours and sign 2 autographs, I'm going to be mortified. Mortified. Because not a lot of people know that most of us are like insecure people. Most of us, Mm-hmm. I said, I'll be mortified. I won't be able to handle that. And he goes, that's not going to happen. He goes, you're a novelty. You're from the 80s. That's not going to happen. I said, all right, I'll do it. So I went there, and one guy almost knocked over my table. His hot dog went flying. There was a line. I'm like, and again, the guy I did the podcast with, Big Daddy, he goes, how come you never put yourself over? I go, because I don't really think I'm a big deal. I was a jobber. But to these people coming up to me at 38 years old going, I used to watch you when I was a little kid. I'm like, yeah, you're a little kid. Yeah, here's your autograph. Thanks for making me feel old, But there was a line, and there was a very confused Oriental guy in the middle of the ballroom, and he was looking around 360. Looking around. And then he found me, and he came running up to my table. Mancini, I'm Shu. I go, hi, Shu. Why don't you ever come to Japan? I go, I never didn't get the tour. We want to see you in Japan. I go, no, I'm too old now. I can't. Okay. And he brought me a tea set from Japan and chopsticks, and I gave him everything for free. I had pictures, took a picture with them. I was married at the time. My ex-wife made these Mario Mancini cookies with printed frosting, my face on there, and I gave him everything for free. And then Joe Bruin came up to me after the night was over, and he said, I want to induct you next year. And I said, okay. And I went back the next year, and my name should not be in this sentence. My name should not be in this.
I seen the people you got inducted with.
Yeah, that I know. I don't have the right to be my name in that. They should make a group for those names and just put mine single to the right.
But at the same time, though, with all due respect, you were on television for what, 7 years?
Yeah,
on a regular basis. So whether you perceive yourself as a jobber or whatever, you're still wrestling every week.
Yeah.
Wrestling, it doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter to fans that know the business whether you win or lose.
Right.
They learn to love characters, and the more frequent you're there, the more people will remember you.
Right.
So maybe you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. I've had Randy Hogan on the show a couple of weeks ago, and Randy was kind of similar to you in WCW, and he had a lot of matches on TV and didn't really win a whole lot of them. But he embraces it now. He's going around dressed as Hulk Hogan these days. So we've seen him.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I guess I've when people point it out to me, they get mad at me. They go, "You're the Undertaker's debut match, first guy ever wrestled in the WWF." I go, "Okay." In podcasts, they always ask me this question. They go, "Did you know how big he would be when you worked with him the first day he was there?" I go, "No."
You're not a mind reader or a fortune teller.
I go, I want you to remember something. I was Big Bully Busick's debut match too. Where'd he go? May rest in peace. But I worked with Mark on November 19th, 1990. It was the Tuesday before the Survivor Series. So 2 days later, he debuts live on the Survivor Series. And then they aired my match after the Survivor Series. So as Howard Finkel inducted me into the Hall of Fame in 2014, he rattled them all off. And that's when it really hit me, because I really never looked at it. And it was when Finkel rattled it off in 2000. He did his homework. He said, before he called my name up there, he goes, the debut match of King Kong Bundy, the debut match of Hercules Hernandez, the debut match of the Hart Foundation, the debut match of the Undertaker, the debut match of Demolition. And I look back and I go, I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess that was something, I guess so. And I do speak up and say the day Mark gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think it would be wrong if I wasn't there. I really think it would be wrong. I don't know what other people think of that, but I think it would be.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think if you buy his DVD, I'm the first match on it with no royalties.
by the way. I think you'll be in the Hall of Fame in Dallas next year. I think for sure.
Yeah. Well, I would really like to be there. I don't know. Maybe I'll call the office.
Yeah.
So
just make sure Vince doesn't see the stories about him in this podcast.
Well, no. I still, in my eyes, they're true stories.
Yeah.
They weren't negative stories, and I think I still put them over. So Vince is good. Vince is good. I never had a problem with Vince. I pissed him off once or twice, but
there's way worse stories out there.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And we won't get into them tonight.
No.
Before we wrap up, anyway, I want to know what your plans are going forward with the school, and are you going to get more out there with these conventions and things?
Well, I mean, yeah, I these conventions, they choke me up because, in 2018, I did one in Freehold, New Jersey, and Dr. D was there.
Yeah.
And, we text probably once a month, definitely on the holidays. But he'll just text me and go, boy, I hope you're doing okay, boy. And I'm like, I'm doing good, Doc. How are you and the family, And I get to see my friends, I get to see Barry and Billy and I get to see Greg and Tony Atlas and Tito, and I get to see all my friends, and when I hug them goodbye, I go, please stay healthy, man. Don't break my heart, so it really is something else. And I hope I get booked for more. It's kind of hard with the pandemic, but
yeah.
I was supposed to be at one last summer. Obviously that was gone. I was actually supposed to do, really, it wasn't a comedy show. It was, you go up there and story tell.
Yeah. Well, you're obviously good at that because I've enjoyed listening to you the last hour.
You're supposed to story tell, and I was going to be there with Valentine, and that got canceled because of the pandemic. As far as Paradise Alley goes, myself and Roma have hopes. We've been in existence since the end of 2014. Of course, once we got a stable, we started running shows since 2016, and we're realistic. We want to put out a good product, and we want to put out good wrestlers. When I say good wrestlers, we want to put out human beings that are good in the ring and outside of the ring. If anybody shows any disrespect or we hear any bad stories from the road if they work for another organization, they're out immediately. So we want them to be good in and out of the ring. And we're realistic. We're a very small independent company. We're not looking to quit our day jobs off Paradise Alley. But then again, we want to make enough money to pay the bills. I just hope, this is what I hope. I don't hope that the company soars. The company's always going to exist. I don't hope that the company soars, but what I hope is that the wrestlers, the kids that are there, their career soars. It's a springboard for them to go higher in the business, like Richard Holiday with Major League Wrestling. I believe when that contract is over, the WWE is going to pick him up. So, that'll be the first mark of one of our guys going to what we refer to as the show. So, and I have a couple of guys in there that have that promise, and all the rest of the kids there are going to be mad at me and go, "What about me?" But it's like, and I tell them, I go, it's okay to have a career in independent pro wrestling. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. For the guys that come in after 30, say you're never going to the show. Never. You're never going there. Or the guys that come in that are, 5'4" and they're 155. See, look, that's fine, but you're never going to the show. Now, if they came in 5'4", 205, and they were as wide as they were tall, I'd say, well, wait a minute. You know what I mean? But they're, as a lot of documentaries say about me, here's what we'll finish with for everybody that watches this and everybody that wonders. So, if I was on the same plane with Hulk Hogan, and he had a tank top on, and he got off the plane and started walking in the airport, how many heads would he turn? Even without his fame, say he was just Thierry Jean Bollet, and he just walked through the airport, 6'7", 302 pounds. People would stare and go, that guy's a behemoth. Once I walked behind him off the airport, somebody would be there. Oh, is that Uncle Joe? No. He looks like him. That's not him. Yeah. That's not him. That's somebody else. Nobody would have went, oh my, holy shit, look at that guy. What I regret, I regret in my life is not taking up hurling, not going to Cork, and start my hurling career. That's what I really wanted to do.
Oh my God, I didn't expect it to finish that way, but Mario, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, man.
I feel the same.
Thank you so much.
Anytime, man. You need me anytime, you let me know.
We'll definitely have